Ethan Caldwell figured he had life all figured out. Being the big cheese over at Caldwell Innovations, a medical tech company that was really making waves, he practically lived and breathed his work. His schedule was planned down to the darn second, so there wasn't any room for surprises or stuff going sideways. This morning, Ethan was barreling through the VIP section at LAX, typing out emails while telling his assistant about the meetings coming up in New York. Usually he'd be cruising in a private jet, but some kind of mechanical issue put him on a regular flight. First class, naturally. Reschedule all the morning meetings if you gotta, he barked. I want that Zurich deal signed before noon tomorrow. His voice was sharp as a tack, and you couldn't read a thing on his face. To Ethan, being successful meant being in charge. In charge of his time, his company, and the folks around him. That's why 3 years back, when Sophia mentioned wanting kids, he shut that down right then and there. Kids were a wild card, something he just couldn't deal with. Today was just another day, another flight. Nothing unexpected. Little did he know, his whole world was about to get flipped on its head in just a few minutes. Ethan got on the plane looking as cool as ever. Confident, detached, like he was a million miles away. When the flight attendant gave him that practice smile, he just gave her a quick nod and headed for his seat. But the second he walked into that first-class cabin, everything went sideways. There in seat 3, it was Sophia Bennett, sitting next to 2 little boys. She looked just as good as he remembered. Soft brown hair around her face, and those eyes sharp but kind of peaceful too. But it wasn't just seeing her that hit him like a ton of bricks. It was them kids. 2 little dudes with dark brown hair and these stormy gray-blue eyes. His eyes. Ethan stopped dead in his tracks, his breath caught in his throat. One of them looked up and said, clear as a bell, "Mama, can I have my tablet now?" Mama? That word hit Ethan like a bolt of lightning, echoing in his chest. His fists clenched up and his heart was pounding like crazy. He felt like he couldn't get any air. Sophia gently handed the kid his tablet, while the other one leaned against her, hugging a beat-up stuffed elephant. They looked about 3 years old. His brain started doing the math. 3 years ago. The divorce. The dates. The possibility. No, the certainty. It felt like he'd been punched in the stomach. Then, like she could feel him standing there, Sophia looked up. Their eyes met, and for a split second, he saw pure panic flash across her face before she quickly looked away, pulling both boys closer. Ethan just stood there frozen, his mind spinning out of control like never before. He'd built his whole dang empire on being in control, controlling the risks, the problems, and what was going to happen. But this was straight up chaos. Finally, he went to his seat on autopilot, right behind them. For the next 7 hours, Ethan didn't even glance at his emails. He hardly even noticed he was on a plane. All he could hear was Kid Logan, soft-talking. And this truth he couldn't shake that blew up every plan he'd ever made. He had kids. Right on the dot at 10 a.m., Sophia Bennett stood in the lobby of Caldwell Innovations, looking all fancy with its marble floors, her heart thumping in her chest like a drum solo. The security dude scanned her ID, his eyebrows going up a bit when he saw the name Bennett. "Ms. Bennett, Mr. Caldwell's expecting you," he said, handing her a visitor's badge. Sophia gripped her purse strapped tight as she stepped into the elevator. She'd spent the whole dang night getting ready for this talk. Ethan knew about Noah and Liam now, something she'd worked her tail off to keep from him for 3 years. This building used to be a part of her life, back when she was Mrs. Caldwell. Now it was just a big, shiny reminder of a world she didn't belong to anymore. When she walked into Ethan's office, he was standing by the window, looking out, his back to her. The place was just like she remembered it. Clean, powerful, every little thing perfect. He turned around when the door shut behind her. For a long minute, neither of them said a word. "Sit down, Sophia." His voice was steady, but she could hear the something tight underneath it. She sat down, sitting up straight, getting ready for whatever was coming. "When were you ever going to tell me?" Ethan's voice was rough, like he was trying not to blow up. Sophia took a deep breath. "I don't know," she admitted. "At first I thought I would, but then I saw you on TV, announcing some big new deal. You look so proud." You said you could do it because you didn't have nothing to distract you. No responsibilities. I was 8 weeks pregnant that night. Silence hung in the air between them. You made that decision for me, Ethan said, his voice heavy with anger he wasn't saying out loud. You had no right. Sophia leaned forward, her voice getting sharp. And you made that decision for me first, Ethan. You told me kids were like a weight, holding you back. I just gave you exactly what you wanted. Ethan's jaw clenched up, old memories hitting him hard. He thought he was running the show. But for the first time in his life, he realized there were things he'd lost before he even knew they were there. 6 days later, Ethan stood in this small park near Sophia's place, holding a paper bag with 2 stuffed dinosaurs in it. He couldn't remember the last time he'd been this nervous. Negotiating billion-dollar deals? No sweat. Fastened down the board? Just another day. But meeting his kids for the first time? That was something else. He got there 45 minutes early, watching other kids play, trying to imagine what was going to happen. Right at 9:55, he saw Sophia walk into the park, holding the hands of 2 little boys, Noah and Liam. They were wearing the same red jackets, but Ethan could already tell them apart. Noah, full of energy, was skipping ahead, looking around, while Liam stayed closer to his mom, looking a little shy. Sophia bent down, whispering something. Sophia whispered something to him. Noah turned his head to look at Ethan, those stormy gray, eyes wide. Mama, is this the special person you told us about? Liam looked Ethan up and down for a bit before giving a small nod. Ethan knelt down, so he was eye to eye with him. Hi, Noah. Hi, Liam. Noah tilted his head, thinking hard. Who are you? Sophia answered real gentle. Boys, this is Ethan. He's your father. Liam gripped his mom's hand tighter, while Noah just blinked at him, looking thoughtful. Like Daniel's daddy at school. Ethan cleared his throat, feeling kinda shaky. Yeah, like that. There was a quiet moment hanging in the air. Then Noah suddenly asked, Do you like dinosaurs? Ethan reached into the paper bag and pulled out 2 plush Brachiosaurus toys, one with a blue ribbon and the other with a green one. I do, and I heard you guys were into Brachiosaurus. Liam's eyes got real wide. Brachiosaurus is the tallest dinosaur. Noah giggled. Liam knows everything about dinosaurs. Sophia smiled a little, watching Ethan start to relax. How about we play for a bit? She asked. Noah didn't need to be told twice. He took off toward the playground. Liam hesitated, but when his brother waved at him, he slowly followed. Ethan just stood there, watching his kids for the first time. One of them running wild with energy, the other one quiet, but watching everything. And for the first time in years, he wondered just how much he'd already missed. 6 weeks later, Ethan was right in the middle of a board meeting when his phone buzzed. He glanced down at the screen. Sophia. He almost ignored it, but then a message popped up. Noah fell at school. We're at the ER. Call me now. Everything just kinda shut down in Ethan's head. He jumped to his feet, not paying any mind to the looks on the board members' faces. This meeting's over. I got an emergency. No saying why. No second guessing. He walked right out of the room, already calling his driver. Brooklyn Methodist Hospital. And step on it. That 20-minute drive felt like forever. Ethan didn't even check his email or look at messages from the board. All he could think about was Noah, that little guy with all that energy, and the scared sound in Sophia's text. When he got to the hospital, he saw Sophia's little sister, Madison, sitting in the waiting area with Liam. The little boy was hugging his stuffed elephant, his eyes all red. Daddy. Liam ran over and grabbed Ethan's leg. Noah's really hurt. Ethan picked him up and held him tight. Where's your mom? She's inside with Noah. Madison pointed to the exam room. Without even thinking, Ethan pushed the door open. Sophia was standing next to the hospital bed, holding Noah's little hand. The boy was lying there looking pale, his left arm all wrapped up. The second he saw Ethan, his face lit up. Daddy, you came. Ethan rushed over to his side. Of course I did. He gently brushed Noah's hair back. What happened? Sophia sighed. He fell off the slide. His arm's broken, but it's a clean break. They're putting a cast on it now. Ethan looked at that little arm wrapped up in bandages, feeling totally helpless. 4. For the first time, he got what it meant to be a real dad, not just the fun times, but being there when things got rough. Hours later, Ethan was still sitting in the hospital waiting room, smelling that cleaning stuff that made you think of hospitals. Every minute felt like an hour as he kept replaying that moment when Noah cried out. His hands were clenched up tight. This was a different kind of waiting than he was used to. In the boardroom, he was always in charge, making all the calls. Here, all he could do was sit and hope for the best. Finally, Sophia came out looking worn out, but her eyes were softer than before. "He's gonna be okay," she said real quiet. Ethan felt like a weight had been lifted, but he still felt kinda heavy inside. For the first time, he realized that being there for someone really meant something, and that he never wanted to be missing when his kid needed him the most. That evening, Ethan didn't go back to the office. He sat on Sophia's couch, Noah resting his head on his lap, holding onto a stuffed dinosaur. His arm in that new cast was covered in stickers, and Liam was sitting next to him, carefully drawing on it with a marker. "Daddy, are you really busy?" Noah asked, sounding sleepy. Ethan looked at Sophia, then back down at his son. "Not as busy as you. You did great today." Noah smiled and closed his eyes. Sophia stood up and motioned for Ethan to come into the kitchen. "You skipped a big meeting today." She wasn't judging, just saying what it was. Ethan crossed his arms. It wasn't as important as being here with Noah. Sophia looked at him for a minute before nodding. "You've changed." A long silence stretched between them. "I lost 3 years not even knowing they were around," Ethan mumbled, his voice getting tight. The weight of that hit him hard. His voice even shook a little, something that hadn't happened in years. "I won't miss another second." The next morning, back at the office, Ethan stared at his calendar. Then he called his assistant and said just like that, "Cancel all Saturday morning meetings. From now on, my Saturdays belong to my kids." And he meant it. The next few weeks were like a crash course in being a dad. Saturday mornings at the park, reading dinosaur books at bedtime, and those quiet times when Liam would slowly reach for his hand. It wasn't always easy. Noah took to him quick, but Liam was more cautious, just watching, waiting. But little by little, Ethan saw those walls start to fall down. The first time Liam climbed into his lap to listen to a story, Ethan knew he wasn't just that guy from the plane anymore. He was their dad. When their 4th birthday was coming up, he wanted to give them something special. Something that showed them and Sophia that he wasn't going anywhere. No hemming and hawing, no doubt. Family would always come first. 3 months later, Ethan was standing inside the Natural History Museum, watching his son staring up at that big T-Rex skeleton in amazement. Today was Noah and Liam's 4th birthday, and he'd spent weeks trying to make it perfect. "Daddy, is that real?" Liam asked, his eyes wide as saucers. Ethan knelt down and smiled. 100% real. And I even asked a real dinosaur expert to come tell you all about it." Noah cheered and Liam squeezed Ethan's hand. Just a little thing, but it hit him hard. At the party, the boys ripped open their presents and pulled out these 2 pictures they'd drawn. One showed 4 people standing in front of a big building. The other was 4 people inside a warm, cozy house. "See, Daddy?" Noah said. "It's our family." Ethan looked over at Sophia, and right then, he knew what family was all about. After the party, he took Sophia and the twins to a new house he'd bought near their school. "I want to be close to Em and close to you." Sophia didn't say nothing for a minute, then she whispered, "Let's take it one step at a time." Ethan nodded. He knew this wasn't just a choice he was making. It was a promise. A dad's promise. That night, after their baths and in their pajamas, Noah and Liam climbed into bed, hugging their stuffed dinosaurs. Ethan sat between Em, holding the book they'd picked out. "Daddy, will you read to us every night?" Liam asked real quiet. Ethan glanced at Sophia, standing in the doorway, watching him. Then he looked back at his sons and smiled. "Every night if you want me to." Noah cheered, and Liam just nodded, his eyes all lit up. Sophia stepped forward and pulled the blankets up around the boys. She stopped, looking at Ethan. "We're doing this right," she whispered. Ethan reached for her hand, holding it gentle but firm. "I'm not going anywhere." She didn't answer right away, but then Noah turned and asked, "Daddy, are you staying forever?" She met Ethan's eyes, and together they answered, "Yes, forever." And right there, in that warm Brooklyn house, under the soft light in the bedroom, a family came back together. Not exactly like it was before, but like it was always meant to be. 3 months later, on a crisp fall afternoon, Ethan was down on one knee in the living room, watching his boys whisperin' and plottin'. "Do you think we can do it?" Noah asked Liam, his eyes sparklin'. Liam nodded, real serious. "Just remember you gotta say, 'Mommy, marry Daddy.'" Ethan chuckled to himself and straightened their little collars. "Ready, boys?" They both nodded and took off running into the kitchen, where Sophia was making tea. "Mommy," Noah tugged on her hand. "We got a real important question to ask." Sophia turned around, looking curious. "What is it, sweetie?" Liam took a big breath and said real formal, "Mommy, marry Daddy." Before Sophia could even say a word, Ethan walked into the kitchen and got down on one knee, holding a simple but beautiful ring. Ethan took a breath to steady himself, holding onto that little velvet box tight. "I lost you once," he said, his voice full of feeling. "And in those years, I learned what really matters. Not boardrooms, not million-dollar deals. You, our boys, our fam." "Eily." He opened the box and showed her that ring, simple but classy. "Sophia, will you give me another shot at this? To love you the way you should have been loved all along? Will you marry me?" Again, Sophia looked at him, then at the boys, her eyes getting shiny with happy tears. "Yes." The boys screamed and jumped around as Ethan put the ring on her finger. Noah tugged on his sleeve, his eyes wide and hopeful. "So does this mean we get to have, Ethan glanced at Sophia, who smiled back at him. "Yes, sweetie. But just something small. Just family." So, over the next few weeks, they started making plans. Not for some big, fancy party, but for something that felt right. A quiet thing in their backyard, with just the people who really mattered. Every night, as they figured things out, Ethan was just amazed at how different this was from their first wedding. This time, there weren't no cold, businessy people, and nobody trying to impress anyone. Just them, their kids, and the promise of a fresh start. The boys cheered and hugged their parents. Ethan smiled and pulled Sophia close. This time, he knew for sure it was for keeps. 2 months later, on a nice spring afternoon, Ethan and Sophia stood in the little garden behind their house, holding hands, with all the people they loved around them. Not a big wedding, not hundreds of folks, just family, close friends, and the 2 most important guys there, Noah carrying the rings and Liam tossing the flowers. As Sophia walked outside in a simple white dress, Noah tugged on his dad's hand. "Daddy, Mommy looks so pretty." Ethan smiled, his eyes stuck on her. "I know." The wedding was small and full of love. When the preacher asked, "Ethan, do you promise to love and take care of Sophia this time and forever?" Ethan squeezed her hand tight and said real steady, "I do, forever." When Sophia whispered, "I do," Liam giggled and said, "Now kiss." Everybody laughed as Ethan kissed Sophia soft, with all their family clapping and cheering. Noah and Liam ran up and hugged their mom and dad tight. This time, they weren't just a couple, they were a family. And this was just the beginning of their happy ever after.